Hi, I'm Sandy Schroeck for LBR Educates, and it's cold outside, so we want to bring those bright spring warm colors into our homes to heat them up and really add some beautiful designs onto our tables. Today we're going to be using one of the square ceramic containers, and the design technique that we're going to be using is groupings. Groupings of materials. When you put something in and put them into one area together, you're going to be able to draw more impact and more attention to that floral material. And so we're going to use that technique for our placement of our florals. And so we're just going to come in, I'm starting with a little bit of blue delphinium and coming in and just making sure I've got that nice deep insertion into the foam. And we're using the Max Life foam from Smithers Oasis in the Midnight. And you can see just how impactful that grouping of delphinium is. And then coming in on the other side, we're going to add some Veronica. And you do want to have this kind of point into your design so that you get that visual interest going back and forth, that movement of your eye. So it's the visual pathway of kind of how the flowers talk to each other. You can see I have a variety of materials, and we're just going to come in. This is a new gerb that we're growing here at Limbush Roses, and it's Julia. It's a beautiful shade of coral, and it has some of that kind of mustardy color in, but we're just going to bring that dancing right in the middle there. So I started with some line flowers that are doing our frame, and then coming into a focal area. I have these cremons, the disc buds, Lynette, that I'm going to add in down below. So I'm going to save space for them, but I'm not going to put them in yet because I don't want to shatter them. And so then we'll just come in with our next elements. And here we have the Coral Motion Alstroemeria that's grown here locally at Limbush Roses. And we'll do a couple of those together right over in there. And actually 2 is probably enough, or it's going to get almost too much. And then a little bit of Eryngium, so you can see the variety of textures that I've chosen in the different materials that are contrasting one to the other. We've got Ranunculus that are kind of that pillowy, and then scoops that really add that great kind of dancing motion. Scoops are another long-lasting material that continues to develop for your customers, and so they'll be able to enjoy them for a long time. Come in, and then a couple of the Ranunculus. So you can see with the turntable, I kind of keep going back and forth, and so I'm just having each one of these have their own little moment in the sun as you go around this design. But you can see the scoops and the Ranunculus balance each other out. The Veronica and the Delphinium balance each other out. The gerbs bring you into the center. That's why the Alstroe, that was enough with those couple rather than add a third one, because I do want to think about how they're going to develop and become more impactful. So at this point now, I am going to add in some of my foliages. And so we're just bringing in a little bit of that darker tone in with some of the Agonis. And we're just going to come around and add those kind of on one side And rather than all the way through, we're gonna add our foliages in groupings as well. And so following through with the theme that we had with the fresh materials, the floral materials, the foliages are going to follow that same type of placement in there as well. And then a little bit of the grevillea. And that will come from this side to this side so that I have that same type of influence coming visually across. So now our final insertions are going to be some of the carnations that'll come out on the edge, but I'll come in with these Lynette cremins that are that lighter color, and you can see I'm gonna part the foliages and bring it right down in low, and in using this midnight foam, down in the center there. I don't need to add a lot of foliages because that foam kind of becomes a shadow and disappears. So I don't need to add a ton more coverage in there. So you can see how we brought those down into the focal area. And then we're gonna do a little bit of framing coming in with some carnations that are gonna act as basing, and they'll help to bring that rich dark color right down into the design. So we're gonna add a couple groupings of these, two of them together, and there you got a burgundy hydrangea. So you can see how impactful that is. Comes down in, and just all that wildness that we've got going on settles right in and brings you right down into that focal area of the design. Just adding a lot more depth and dimension. So it doesn't look like I need to add any additional salal foliages, but just along with this to really kind of enhance the dancing that we have going on with these groupings of flowers, we're going to add a couple stems of lily grass that come in and come off. So for the customer, the dimension of this design by adding this lily grass about will double, and so it'll take you out, and then your eye comes right into the area where we've got some of those unique flowers, and we want to draw attention onto those dancing elements that we have within this composition. Our final touch is going to be some of this flat fern, and thus just adds that whole springy feeling to the design, and just is going to finish off that bottom edge, extending the space that this design takes up. So here's our final design, and you can see how those groupings of materials just dance with each other, the color balance that we've created, and the depth and dimension with the floral materials kind of dancing one over another. I'm Sandy Schroeck for LBR Educates, and I hope I've inspired you to create some fabulous florals.